Hello there, hello Coach GB here. I just want to talk about Pyke. Is it Pyke season? Is it Assassin season? The new season is soon kicking in, and I want to prepare you guys to all of the new things that will come up. Now we have a bunch of new items in my inventory, and one of the notable things I want to point out is that if you look at the current state of lethality in PvE, now grants flat armor penetration equal to its value at all levels. It isn't 62.22 percentage, and you get only 100 percentage value at level 18, right? So that generally speaking will allow Pyke to deal more damage early on where he wants to shine, while also notably many of Pyke's abilities do actually scale with lethality, so they may also get some extra nice value out of them because you get more lethality in your current level, I suppose. Now, one of the notable features that are actually quite strong is the Ward Atlas that you can, of course, later on you'll be able to get Bloodsong out of it. This is one of the very offensive items, and the interesting thing it's a spell blade effect, so you have it every 1.5 seconds. I don't know why, but apparently it's a spell blade item. It's not even a long cooldown item for some reason. So it does 119 damage. Right? Now, arguably, it still does damage even if I sell all of my items, because it only scales with 150 percentage base AD. It doesn't have like a real like AD ratio, right? But also notably, it places exposed weakness on the target, which increases the damage by 12 percentage they take, which means you and your ally deals 12 percentage more damage, right? Which means, what does that even mean? You will more easily reach the benchmark of execution for your ultimate, right? Which is again a really good thing. So this Bloodsong is a really good item for Pyke in the new season. Now the other notable item I want to talk about is Profane Hydra. Now Profane Hydra will be more so a mid item. I would say you could possibly even so build it as a support if you really wanna carry. Because it does provide you wave clear and easier taxing from other lanes if you feel like your teammates are unreliable. But generally speaking, this will be more so a mid lane item, just because you need to be higher on economy as well, because it costs 3,400 gold. So what this allows you to do currently is that you can do this and you can wipe waves really quickly. Now, even though like I had multiple items in my inventory, the notable feature of the Profane Hydra is, compared to the Ravenous Hydra that we currently have, it's still in the game by the way, that it provides lethality, cooldown, great, and the activatable does more damage when people are lower on HP. And so the issue was before on Pyke that Ravenous Hydra was expensive, didn't provide lethality. Well, also notably, it didn't have an activatable because Pyke's abilities didn't really like gave enough like Ravenous Hydra value, because his E doesn't give damage, his W doesn't damage the wave, so he kind of sucked at wave clearing. But now with the new Hydra, he's better at doing so. So this will be it will be better mid lane, I would say, but I would say if you want to carry bot lane, shuffle those waves, text waves if you feel like you can carry. I would still may get it on like support Pyke, but generally it's unrecommended. The effect is kind of satisfying and it's matching Pyke's team. It has this watery thing, right? It's Profane Hydra, so it really matches Pyke's team as well overall. But one of the notable new items is Volatic Cyclo Sword. What the hell is this item even? So, Galvanize, dashes and stealth, stacks energize fast, right? So if I wanna proc energize, for example, right, I proc it on anything. I think you can proc it on pretty much anything, right? Now we are at 14. If we move a teensy bit, we're gonna get 4, right? But if you use E, we're gonna get half of it back, right? Now notably, if you go stealth, you also gonna get some of it back really quickly, right? So okay, so what does that allow you to do? Also notably, you have an ultimate as well that will reset Volatic Cyclo Sword really easily. So in a fight, realistically, you can get 2 procs of these. So sometimes you will actually use your R even if you can't execute, just to get close, so you'll be able to connect another Volatic Cyclo Sword proc, which allows you to slow your opponent and finish off that opponent with your ally, which before you didn't really have, right? So keep that in mind, that sometimes you'll have to use your ult that way. Now the very great feature about this is Even so, I would first item it because it's a insane carry item. Is that, for example, you see there is like a Cartus whatever enemy champion that preferably has no dash, right? This slows for 99% for 0.5 second, right? For 99%, right? We're gonna write it down. Now, I basically attack the guy, right? He can't even move out of my E. So, how do we actually abuse this? Well, there are different ways of playing. For example, depends how do you wanna play your fight out. You can do something like this as well. You can dive in. You can use your W, dive in with E, basic attack your target. So you gotta insta basic attack. So they can't really walk out of your E. So you gotta be really quick with your basic attack, which can look like something like this as well, which can be totally fine, right? But you can also do something like, oh, it's a Baron Asher. Okay, so long ass nail, right? So the other combo would look like something like this. So let's say we want to dive in it. We can get the basic attack off and the really quick hook, right? I kinda messed up my E. So, let's do it again because I was kinda clumsy. So W in, basic attack, hook, E, right? And this is another like alternative way of playing, but you gotta be very quick with your hook. So you gotta basic attack insta hook, so you can exactly get your hook off in time, I suppose. But generally this will help you a lot to connect your E. This is a little bit similar, I would argue, to Prowler's Claw. Well, it doesn't provide you a dash, but it allows you to connect your E more smoothly, which is again just a very big thing to watch out for the enemy team. So it definitely provides you a lot of threat, and arguably it also helps a lot your Ash too. If you hit someone for 99% slow for 0.75 seconds, it allows really easily your Jin to connect his W, Jin W, Ash, or whatever other like high threat abilities your ally champion has, Varusult and whatnot. So this is also sort of supportive in some way. You're not necessarily only playing for yourself as Pyke. Now, let's move on. We already talked about the new Cyclosword, definitely insane. Now, didn't talk about humans. Yes, at most it's the same. Mythics don't exist anymore, so you can build anything you want actually. But one thing you can like notice that it definitely provides less lethality than in the past, because you don't get that off-combat lethality, of course. And the notable feature is also that the mobility is similar as it was before, I think, at most. It's way cheaper, it's 2700, which is very big for a assassin. So this is definitely a great snowbally item, but generally speaking, you want to rush Volatic Cyclosword against champions that don't necessarily have dashes, because if you can basic attack them at least once, it really easily would allow you to connect your Q or E. Which is definitely great, and in a fight, as I said, you can get 2 of these procs off realistically, especially if you ult in, so that's definitely great even damage wise. Now, there are some items such as opportunity, so 55 attack damage, 18 lethality, 5% movement speed and whatnot. Now you also get 8 lethality of combat, which does also scale with levels up to 10. This lethality lasts for 3 seconds after dealing damage to the enemy champion, so you got to be ASAP with your combo, right? Now, extraction. If a champion dies within 3 seconds of damaging them, you get 150 decaying movement speed. So what does that allow you to do? You can get out of combat really easily after getting an execute. For example, I would like to, let's say like I would like to dive in, right? Oh. Okay, that's so much damage, my ult wasn't even needed. Interesting season for Pyke, right? And so that will generally allow you to just get out of combat mainly after getting an execution. Although it's not a bad item, but Edge of Night is also there if you want something defensive. Just to consider, right, depending on what do you actually face and require per game. Okay, now what else do we have here? Hubris. Look, I mean, there is this new item, Habris. Serpent's Fang is at most the same, of course. Umbra Glavy is the same, but I wouldn't recommend you to go Glavy, just because there are base stronger lethality items, and I know you're gonna deny wards, and that's kind of like Pyke's point, but it messes with your first item spike and scaling because like I know a lot of people would say that Pyke does rely on like early game power and whatnot, but it's just shit. Like it denies wards, but if you compare it to other like items that allow you to carry the game more smoothly, I would say it's kinda shit. It's good at denying vision, but that's all it does, and I would say it's still nice, but I would say it has like less carry potential than Volatic Cyclosword. But let's talk about this ego, right? This hub is the ego passive itself. So you get a statue of yourself. When a champion that you have damage within the last 3 seconds dies, gain 10 plus 1 per statue attack damage, right? So you get 10 attack damage. Let's kill this guy really quick, right? Now we got 11 damage, right? 412 attack damage, right? Now this only lasts 1 minute, so it's just shitty Magi. That's my opinion. It's legit just shitty Magi. And the issue with this item, I think this will be probably like in every type of like montage video on Pyke, on YouTube. Oh my god, got like 10 hub stacks. Now the issue with this item is that it only lasts a limited amount, which is kinda shit in my opinion. And so we're only gonna get one. We got one. So it says plus 1 per statue attack damage, right? So you're gonna get 10 flat, but you're only gonna get 1 attack damage, right? Wait, does it even refresh the duration? That's a real question. If it doesn't, it kinda sucks. I suppose it should refresh the duration. But the thing is, you're only gonna get 180. So it's one of those like, you're gonna see one of those like very stupid thumbnails. Oh my god, I got like 20 Habris procs or whatever, but it's like, it's actually just big shit about the 80, so it's not that big. Now, in here again we see Cartus is dead. I'm not sure, does it even refresh? See? Bro, that... It does refresh its duration, okay, so that took something. But I would still not necessarily recommend this item just because it only lasts 1 minute and it's just generally worse than Cyclosword, and they have a very... No, actually Cyclosword is even cheaper, holy. So the issue with like Habris is that it's just shit because as I said it only lasts 1 minute. Similar stats to the other item except like 5 more AD, which is like whatever. But with Cyclosword you get like at least 2 procs realistically, which is 200 physical damage beside the utility. So generally you're gonna get way more further with Cyclosword. I think it's just like one of those like shitty montage items. Now Mana Immune is at most the same. I think it's at most the same if I guess there any difference? I just finished the item and we'll see, but I don't see this being viable on Pyke and maybe on other assassins, but I don't. We got 8 minion I think or a champion for it to finish, let's see. That's kinda bullshit, where is Cartus? We gotta eat that Cartus, man. He doesn't want to finish the item. Why, but I wouldn't recommend you to build it. I wouldn't necessarily recommend you to build it on Pyke. Generally most of the assassins is just pretty much the same at most. Anti-shield as before. Now what else is there that's new? There are some new marksman items, but they're not very... This is anything notably too great for Pyke. At most there isn't anything that's like so great. This Kraken Borg is pretty much the same as before, but it costs 100 less. It does provide a slow on your first basic attack. Now with Halo Blades arguably it could be arguably interesting to go for Blade of the Ruin King, but I don't know how to feel about that. generally go Halo Blades. There is Kraken as a alternative. Now with Halo Blades you're gonna get those very quick basic attacks off, and now it's different than before because every third attack deals between 219 and 437 damage. So what does that allow you to do? Now depends when do you get it. The earlier you get it, the worse usually it is. So as a first item I wouldn't even like necessarily recommend you. Now Eclipse I wouldn't go for it because it doesn't give you enough carry potential. It does some damage, it does give you a shield, but it's just not it when it comes to like carrying a game. So I wouldn't like necessarily recommend it to you on Pyke. So ideally, as I said, get your first item. I would like aim to go at most Yomu's or as I said, the other one that I really love. Let's go back to it. Where the hell was it? Oh, here, my bad. It's Volatic Cyclosword. Now, in here, these two items are kinda interesting. Now, why do I even say that? We deal 411 damage. Now, it's based on missing HP. It's not as it was before, that it stacks up. So, for example, there is the enemy card, and let's say I get to like all in him. Let's say we hit a hook. That was a very shitty way of using my E. We are 348, right? 391. Let me execute him, right? So it doesn't show the total damage of my Kraken, but we still dealt a decent amount as we visually saw it. So is this great? Is this bad? Is this meh? Well, look, so I don't have like I didn't really like test this out. And we're kind of like high goal level, so we get like, it has like a higher AD ratio, right, when people are on lower level of HP. Basically, I think it's very similar in a way to Blade, and its damage could be arguably similar. Blade's slow is again nerfed, so that's something to watch out for. That's what I'm thinking of a little bit as well, that there could be a world where you go Bork or Kraken. Now Kraken is actually cheaper than Bork, so that's like another reason I would kinda recommend it. Here's the enemy cartouche, so let's say we get to like all in this cartouche, right? Let's say I cancel my own Q. And so it's easier to find lethal damage against more durable champions. That's what I can think of when it comes to Kraken, right? It's easier to find lethal damage and the first proc you're gonna get really easily. Now, if you wanna be really smart, you know what can you do? So for example, let's reset the minions, right? Boom, minions reset, that great, insane. Now there is a very smart way to all in with Kraken. So okay, so ideally, like, you want to stack it up of minions if you can, and then rush in. But you gotta like stack it up in a way that your Volatic Cyclosword is preferably up. And then we get really easily like 2 Kraken procs in one all-in, right? In your stun at most. Now, the only issue is that your opponent won't be stunned if you wanna get 2 procs of Kraken off, which do deal a decent amount of damage, but your opponent won't be stunned, therefore you cannot get a ultimate off while your opponent is stunned, which can be a bit of a bummer, right? Because you're literally not able to like connect off an ultimate. So I would say it's an interesting DPS item, but it definitely has to be more so properly limit tested off in a live game to have my opinion about it. But I would say it's an interesting item that you could consider to theory craft with. Even though it doesn't really provide lethality, because the damage it provides is significantly higher as Volatic Swords or other lethality items in your pocket, because some people would say, but I could build a lethality item, but the thing is they don't provide you usually that much damage as Kraken. If you can get like 2 procs of Kraken off, well, also notably it's just only 3000 gold. So that's really my opinion. Like, it would provide you the most amount of damage in games where people are a bit more durable, and you kind of like have to like, I would say they kind of have to like, they're more durable than like squishy champs, so you kind of have to like chip their HP down, right? That's why I would kind of recommend you to experiment a little bit with this and see it yourself if it's worth. So I would say this is a bit more of a experimental thing that has a lot of validity on Pyke. What else are there for assassins for Pyke? No, these are just armor pen items. Generally, you don't really like armor pens, so I don't really know how to feel about it. You wanna carry as fast as possible. So early on, I wouldn't really consider at most any of these items, in my own opinion. Mob is definitely good at some point of the game as Pyke, but these items are usually not too considerable in my opinion at most. Except I can think of these things as some experimental things. Collector, don't even think about it. You already execute with your ult, so that 5% is kinda useless. I mean, it's just like dopamine really. Now, the Black Cleaver is just basically like Old Cleaver but nerfed. Don't know how to feel about it. Spear of Sojin now. Spear of Sojin does actually provide you HP, cooldown, more damage on your ability percentage wise. It's interesting in its own way, but I would say this is more of a Sinzao Ezreal something item. Aatrox, I wouldn't see it on Pyke necessarily on Assassins. Some of them maybe, but overall not really. There's another one that provides you mobility and it also slows your opponent, so this is also definitely an interesting item to at least consider on Pyke. So it provides also a great amount of HP, right? And 400 HP, right? So it provides flat 50 AD. But we know that any bonus HP you get, you're gonna get bonus. I mean, any bonus HP you have, you're gonna get bonus damage. All that, right? So, for example, if I buy this, we can visually see that we gain bonus 43 amount of damage. So we do have actually a great amount of attack damage just out of Stridebreaker standalone. That's insane, right? While notably, we also do get a slow. Which allows us a smoother connection of your E. And I know that it does slow, but the more targets are around, the more speed up you actually do get, which is really interesting. So if I place a dummy nearby this guy, we can visually see the difference between one hit and a single target hit. So for example, if you dive in, you speed yourself up as well, right? And as I said, like the less targets are, the less speed you get. The more targets are, the more speed you get, right? So for example, I use this 447, right? And if I use my Stridebreaker on 2 targets, then it arguably again could be an interesting item of choice, just because we get a Stridebreaker proc, right? And then because people are slow, then you are speeded up. It's actually quite easy to connect your E, so both Volatic Sword and Stridebreaker does actually serve the purpose of engaging properly. So it's actually quite nice of a item. So I would say this again is a interesting item, but one of the things that you gotta note is that it provides even mobility from temper, right? But it doesn't do what? It doesn't gives you AoE damage to wave clear. So it's an interesting item, but it doesn't provide lethality. It provides a big chunk of AD, right? Like 200, right? We have 200 AD right now. We sell it. We have only 121, so we definitely got a lot. So we got like 79 AD, right? At max level, right? So it's a lot of AD we get. So lots of flat AD by the attack speed, which is like fine, not really a nice thing. And it's interesting in its own way. I would say it's a considerable item. I would say it's a considerable item if you can get enough value out of the other item that I would rush is Volatic Cyclosword. Yomu's is also fine, definitely, but Volatic Cyclosword as another like snowball example, because in some case you E in, but the issue is you don't get to swing off the Volatic Cyclosword basic attack, so you kinda wanna be tricky, right? Because let's say there's a cog block, Leona is stance you, it's annoying, you know, so you gotta be actually kinda tricky with Pyke. Wait, we forgot the item though. We forgot the item, right? So we get Stridebreaker as a first item potentially. You can get boots of your choice, of course, depending on your game. And we went for cooldown boots, right? So let's say there is a misfortune and an annoying Leona around that doesn't really want to let us to get our basic attack off. So it can be a little bit more tricky, right? So you can press E, Stridebreaker into W, right? E, Stridebreaker W. And if you're fast enough, you may be able to actually just get that E off really nicely and smoothly, so something like this. At most it should look like something like this, but you can do something like this. and then look for a slide breaker after, which I wouldn't really recommend you because usually you need to get it off before. You can also do something like this as well, but generally I would, depends really, but generally I would recommend you to just like eat through them and look for a slide. But again, like it's very similar in a way, like this slide breaker combo. I would say the only really real difference is that in here, if you initiate with stride, basically you need to be way closer as if you would E in, right? Um, so basically against champs that cock block you, and it also gives you a nice disengage because this decays over 3 seconds. So if things go wrong, you could kind of disengage in my opinion, because let's say things go wrong by chance, we go in, right? And if things don't go well because the enemy jungler gank us, right, let's put a hypothetical like dummy there, then you still have the option to speed yourself out. So if you spare your W, then it's kind of nice because then you get to sort of W out, right? But generally speaking, should be able to be in a really good position to get that E off. You got to be like quite close actually. It would be nicer if you could use this in E animation, but you can't really. So that's kind of a bummer, but as you can see, like if you E in front of them, we can barely connect our we can connect our E, but we need to get enough mobility for that, right? So you can try to connect your E out of the speed from slide, right? But it may not always work, so generally I would recommend you to be a bit more closer. Okay. So think mostly covered everything. That's dance is just basically the same as before. Deadman same as before. Iceborne, it's same, but the slow is nerfed, so I don't know how to feel about it. There are just other slow items that are better on Pyke. Don't know if there is an AP item really. I would say you can get maybe an anathema, same as in the past. It's an interesting item, maximum stacks your resistance, so it's kind of like a focus out the mastery type of item, to be honest. I don't know how to feel about it really. Heartsteel, now Heartsteel does provide you a proc. For each 1000 max health, you gain 3% increase size up to 30%, right? So every 30 seconds, right? So it did 227 damage. It does scale with HP specifically, and you don't really get bonus HP on Pyke, which is a bit of an issue because the damage doesn't scale up on it, but you do get HP, permanent HP, right? And now that you can build any amount of mythics, well, mythics are not even mythics, it's actually interesting to maybe sort of theory craft this Heartsteel, something with it, because you can get infinitely stacking HP, which is infinitely stacking 80 on Pyke, so we get 71 right now out of our bonus HP, right? Damage now. If I get a proc, we got 280, right? 280 again, but this is on maximum level, right? So notably earlier on we may gonna get less. And same thing, so the damage doesn't really ramps up on it, but you get 25 permanent max health, right? I mean, yeah, it's interesting. I think it's interesting to sort of theory craft a scaling. I would say this is one of those like experimental things that you can like sort of test it out yourself and consider it being a useful item or not. But I think its components are not snowball enough for Pyke as a first item. Then the other issues are very simple. Again, the other issues are just simple that its components don't provide damage for you to snowball. Then you're gonna get some upfront damage. You're gonna get a lot of HP from the item, which translates, of course, into bonus 80. I don't say it doesn't, but it doesn't provide lethality nor attack damage. So I would say it's some type of experimental thing that you can just think about it yourself. If there is any like value out of it that you could actually get out of it, I would say this is a considerable thing to experiment with, right? These are at most not even considerable. Eclipse is just a dueling item, maybe, but don't really feeling it on Pyke to be honest. It doesn't provide speed anymore. It does provide 8% damage and 70-80, but doesn't provide really lethality. So I don't know how to feel about it. I would rather prefer killing my opponent faster over a shield, which still ends up allowing you to spare HP, right? It's sort of the type of item that you like to have in short race, like Zed, for example. He can, Zed can proc this Eclipse way more smoothly than Pyke does. Just because on Pyke you got to hit 2 of your abilities. Now you can of course Q basic attack 10E. That's totally fine as well if you wanna proc that way. But the thing is, like what you have to consider is oh wait, I was like hearing the TV and I kind of was lost on the track. I forgot what I said about you have to oh yeah, Eclipse I think. You have to consider that this is a dueling item really, so maybe on mid lane I would say, but generally Zed loves it way more because he can proc it from farther away. And yeah, I don't know, honestly, it feels like people can don't know how to feel about it, but probably this will be built on Pi because I feel like now Axiom Arc it does provide you like cooldown reduction on your ult, but I wouldn't recommend it to you because it already resets on. Like it's interesting again to consider because it does provide you a lot of attack damage, lethality, ability haste, and your ultimate cooldown is reduced. It's interesting because your ult is way faster up on the rotation. The more lethality I get, of course, the lesser cooldown it will have. Which early on becomes, of course, like more valuable because your woods being all the time up to date is a great thing, but again, it doesn't provide you enough. Like, it doesn't provide you damage, it doesn't provide you the Volatics Sword utility. It's an interesting thing to consider in games where you're looking to snowball, and your ultimate is definitely high value, especially in the games where you wanna have your ultimate up way faster than, let's say, like Lulu has her own ult up or whatnot, right? Which generally allows you to. Oh, this blue is kind of cool, right? Which just generally allow you to have your ult up way faster than your opponents, so you find smoother executions and you can go for more plays than usual. So I did this being a decent snowbally item, but upfront I wouldn't build it early on because you gotta remember that the passive effect itself, the flux, it scales with lethality, so it's not something you're supposed to really like first item. GA, it's basically GA but expensive, so early on I wouldn't really get it. I mean, at most, maybe later on, but don't know how to feel about it on Pyke. I think support items are just shit at most. Casting your ult slows, but I don't know, I just weird I think. I think it's just weird. What else is there to talk about? Support items are at most shit. Now, if you really feel like you want to be wholesome, you may can go for Mikai's Blessing, which is really not recommended, but if you wanna be wholesome, you can like cleanse off that Lissandra ult of your AD carry. But generally, it's not really a Pyke item. So yeah, I really think so. It's really Pyke season. Like Pyke never been really this great before, except maybe on his release date when his abilities did actually AoE damage to minions, which got really quickly nerfed, I think. And also didn't deal damage to monster camps, so he couldn't be played in the jungle really, but you guys get my point that this is the best state I think Pyke ever was since a very long time ago. So because Pyke sucked ass for such a long period of time, they gave him Profane Hydra, which is Ravenous Hydra for Lethality Champs. They gave him a bunch of lovely items that you can actually test it, experiment about, or just like go for it. As I said before, like some of them are just easily you can go for, some of them you got to experiment with a little bit to see how it works on the live server, of course, in a real game. Because in Nigel I didn't test it out yet. I mean, basically, because like it's not even out, right? But I think that's it for now. Have a nice day, and remember, play Pyke. Next season it's gonna be great, which is kicking in very soon.